Hello, everybody. I hope all of y'all are having a good day today. Today, I want to show you something pretty deep with Adam and Eve in the garden. And I'm going to show you how the story of Adam and Eve in the garden ties in with Jonah asleep in the boat. And it ties into the story of Jesus asleep in the boat. And show you that all of these stories that you see in the Old Testament scriptures, the Holy Scriptures, they're not what they seem. And remember, Jesus told his disciples, he said, they, the others, people, they get parable stories. They only see stories, but you have been given the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Jesus opened up their minds to understand the Holy Scriptures. So I want to show you something pretty deep in these stories today. I think it's pretty cool. All right, let's look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 21. Pay close attention to the wording here of what's written. It's written that God caused the man, Adam, to fall into a deep sleep. Now, first of all, let's look at that word, caused to fall, in the Strong's Concordance. Let's look at it in the original Hebrew, the language that this was written in. It's pretty awesome when you look at it. Now, that word is nafal, and it means to cast down, to be cast down, like to be cast down from one place to the other in like a lower state. It also means to be divided. But that word is also connected to Nephilim. And the Nephilim were those who from the heavens came. They came from a higher state down to a lower state. But it goes on to read that God caused the man, Adam, to fall, be cast down, divided, into a deep sleep. And look at that word for deep sleep in the Hebrew. It means to be put in a deep sleep, but it also means to be put into a trance. It's like being under a spell or in a fog. And it says, while he was sleeping, now look at that word for sleep. It's different than the other word. It says, while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and replaced it with flesh. You've all read what James wrote, where he said, a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. See, when God caused Adam, the man, to fall into a deep sleep, a trance, says that other word, while he was sleeping, means to become lazy. While he was sleeping, while he was in this trance, he become lazy. Remember where we're told to fan the flame? You fan the flame of the Holy Spirit, the gift that is within you. Well, he become lazy while he was in this trance. And whenever he woke up, the one had become two. Adam had become double-minded. He was a double-minded man. Adam and Eve, the sun and moon, Solomon, okay? And only after this was he able to be seduced, tempted by Satan, the wisest beast in the field. Adam was no longer being led by the Spirit. He no longer had the chief cornerstone holding up the two walls, the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. He was now thinking on his own logic and understanding. He had betrayed the Spirit. He had left the Spirit for his own understanding. Remember, after Adam and Eve had done this, God cast them out of the garden, but he clothed them in skins. He clothed them in their carnality. They become carnal people. They were no longer led by the Spirit. Now let's move on to the story of Jonah and the giant fish. If you'll remember in the story of Jonah, Jonah was told to do something by God, the Holy Spirit, told him to do something, and Jonah didn't want to do it. He ran from it. So anyway, he's in this vessel, this boat, okay? First of all, you need to look at the name Jonah. Jonah in Hebrew means dove. And the dove represents the Holy Spirit. So anyway, Jonah is in this vessel with all these other sailors, and God sends a storm, okay? And all the sailors get all worried and scared, and they start throwing stuff overboard because they don't want the ship to sink, to go under the water. And each one of them cries out to their own God. They cry out to their God, outwardly, to their own gods. And Jonah goes down into the bottom of the ship and goes to sleep. But Jonah goes down below, and that word there in the Hebrew, he goes down, means that he descended. He went from a higher place to a lower place, okay? It's like he's cast down. But he goes down, he's cast down into the lower part of the ship. And that in the Hebrew means the innermost, the deepest recesses, okay? In the deepest recesses of your mind, the Holy Spirit, the dove, Jonah means dove, goes down and goes to sleep. It says he falls into a deep sleep. Falls into a deep sleep. And look at that word for deep sleep. Okay, it's the same one used in the story of Adam and Eve, but it also has a little bit more to it. It means to stupefy. Okay, when he's cast into this deep sleep, it's like he's in a trance, he's stupefied, he's a double-minded man. Okay, remember the vessel, the ship always represents you. It's us. We're vessels of the Holy Spirit. Okay, and everybody's crying out to their own gods. They're all afraid. And Jonah, the dove, goes down. He's cast down into the innermost recesses of the mind. And he's stupefied. He goes into a deep sleep. Remember, wake, O sleeper, rise from the dead. Remember in the story of Noah's Ark, Noah releases the dove. He releases the Jonah. Okay? The dove is the Holy Spirit. When Jesus was baptized, he come up out of the water, and the Holy Spirit descended upon him like a dove. In Mark chapter 4, the disciples are in a ship, and there's a storm, and Jesus is asleep in the stern of the ship. The stern of the ship is the back of the ship, the farthest recesses of the mind, okay? He's in the back of the ship, asleep with his head on a pillow, okay? And that word pillow there, or cushion, means a cornerstone, okay? Remember, Jesus is the chief cornerstone. Without a cornerstone, if you build two walls and you don't have a cornerstone, the two walls are unstable. So you need the chief cornerstone to solidify, to make the two walls into one. They're joined into one, and they're no longer unstable. They're no longer double-minded, okay? Jesus, the Holy Spirit, he's asleep in the farthest recesses of the mind in this vessel with his head on a cushion. It's the chief cornerstone. But it says he's down in the stern, and that means he went from, look at that word in the Hebrew, went from a higher plane to a lower plane, okay? From a higher state of consciousness to a lower state of consciousness. And then the disciples get scared, and they awaken him. And look at that word in the Hebrew for awaken. It's to rise from the dead, to come out of disease, to come to your senses. But Jesus arises, he raises up, and he rebukes the storm. And when he does, there's a great calm. So that's what happens when the Holy Spirit comes in, whenever the sleeper awakens in you. You're no longer double-minded. You now see things through the proper eyes. And there's a great calm. You're no longer afraid. You realize that the storm, it was nothing, because you have the master teacher. They said teacher. They woke the master teacher within them. All of these stories are much deeper than what you think they are from the surface. From the time where children were read all these children's Bible stories, and we see things as literal, and we only see things on the surface, and we can't see things with the right eyes. Okay, our vision is blurry, we're cross-eyed, we're double-minded. Okay, when Jesus opened up their minds to understand the Holy Scriptures, that word there, to understand, means to bring it all into proper context, to be able to look at the Holy Scriptures and see the truth. Jesus was telling them, he said, I'm in there everywhere. I'm in those Holy Scriptures, but you guys can only see the law. You can only see the works of your hands. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I love you all. God bless.